The context of this is that when we decided to set up Startup Jungle, we wanted to give survival skills for the jungle of startup life. That means, what does it take to grow a company? What does it take to build a product? What does it take then to then take that product to the markets? A lot of what we're going to try and do with Startup Jungle is for engineers and people that have technical skills and that want to improve those technical skills. But some of what we want to do as well is to help anyone who just wants to do something entrepreneurial and put it out there, or someone who is in charge of a project in their company and wants to put it out there. So this is our third Startup Jungle. The first one was on artificial intelligence in December. The second one was on design thinking in February. Now we have this one on how to grow your business with getting your first 100 customers. And we'll then have probably in April another one on design thinking, a second very hands-on workshop. And in May we'll probably have one on blockchain for the ones who know what blockchain is. So it's quite diverse. We're always looking for more people that want to contribute their ideas, that have an expertise or a certain idea of a session that they think should be given to Cambodia. Then we can try and find the right speaker for that session. So feel free to approach us. So today's session on how to get your first 100 customers. It's primarily focused on people that have their own business and want to grow their business, but it's also relevant for people who work for an existing business and are responsible to grow that business. And I would argue that for anyone who is in any business, to be aware of how business makes money is a really essential skill. Even when you are in charge of the website of the business, or you're in charge of the office, or of administration or accounting, it's always useful to understand what makes a business a business. What is that business focused on? And because it gives you an understanding of what the challenges are that business faces, and how you as an employee or as an owner can help that business succeed. Yeah? So this will give you a relatively high-level framework to think about business. We're literally almost there. So we structured the session into two parts. Session part one is what I would call the theory. It's me talking, basically, where we're going to talk about quite a few topics, and then we'll have a break, and then there will be part two, and part two is optional. If you don't want to stay, you're very welcome to leave. Part two will be where, if you have a project of your own, you can consult us with your questions. We will have a few mentors. A few mentors unfortunately had to cancel, but we have two mentors that will be there after the break, and you can approach us. There will be myself and a guy named Jibril, who we have grown businesses before. So you can approach us for questions on your own business. It's almost like a free consulting, yeah? So you bring your questions and then we can help you, if we can, I don't know, to answer some of the questions you have. And it's also an opportunity to talk to the rest of the people in a room. Maybe they can offer you advice or some support. Okay? How are we doing on a presentation? Almost there? Almost. Wow. Cool. So maybe a show of hands. Who here in this room owns a business? Okay, a few people. Who in this room, so I assume everyone else doesn't own a business. For the one who don't own a business, who that doesn't own a business is involved in doing sales in a business? Okay, a few hands, just one or two. That means that the other people that are here, are you here because you just want to learn about what it is to run a business or to grow a business? Yeah? Okay. So it's about learning to grow business. Who from those people that are here to learn about what it is to grow a business are planning to set up a business of their own? Okay, a few people. Okay, cool, that's good. That's good to know sort of where we're at. Are we ready? Perfect. Shall we go full screen? I think full screen mode, Control L, this one. Yeah. Almost. Yeah, Perfect. Thank you so much. So guys, this was, let me stand here. This is basically what I would sell, Startup Jungle. So learn from the best, create products and bring them to markets. We'll have sessions about every month, maybe more. It really depends on how many sessions people can bring, can suggest. The next one that we currently have scheduled is for the 25th of April, which is after Khmer New Year, which will be a hands-on workshop. For the ones who are there in February, Elliot will be the one that will still be mentoring this, together with his DMI team. So they are specialized in great mobile app development all over the world. They have a few thousand employees, DMI, and they are very good at developing mobile applications, and they're especially very good at design thinking. So this workshop will be for about 20 people. We're looking ideally at people that have an active project that they want to work, that they're working on, and we'll accommodate 10 teams of 2 people. And then you will get hands-on coaching and consulting during a few hours from them. Yeah? And then we'll obviously film everything, so in the hope that for the ones who can't make it, they can afterward watch on YouTube the video and they can learn from it. Yeah? And then in June, July, May, June, we'll do something on blockchain most likely, which will be more, which will have 2 parts: a business part on the blockchain to understand blockchain, and a technology part on how to build a blockchain. Oh, really? That's great. 30th of March? Fantastic, that's good to know. Fantastic, that's great. Look, it's actually the kind of thing we want to have. We want to bring more people that are doing topics. It's good to hear that that's happening. Okay, so the actual session of today, getting your first 100 customers. So there's 3 parts to the theory. The first part is understanding in what business you're in. Yeah. The second part is then understanding the methods you can apply to analyze your business and how you can go to the market. The third part is to actually the techniques you can utilize once you're in a market. So let me give you some background. When you are in any business, you always have to understand what you're trying to sell. It sounds pretty basic, but it's very important to understand that many people don't actually understand what they're selling. When someone buys a product, let's say you go to Starbucks or Cafe Amazon or something, you buy a product or a service. What you're buying is a solution to the job you need to get done. Think of buying a coffee like a job that needs to be done. The job is you want your caffeine intake. You want to drink coffee because it makes you feel better, or because you need a kick from the caffeine, or because you just want to have a good time with friends. Whichever it is, that's the job you need to get done. And then you look for the right cafe that can get that job done. Yeah? The same will be true for when you're a writer, the same will be true when you're building something to help restaurants, the same will be true if you're building something to help parents. At the end of the day, everyone has jobs that needs to be done. For example, listening to music, that's a job to be done. You need to listen to music because we as humans like listening to music. Initially, when I'm talking back in days of Encore, the job was still listening to music, but the solution was about a private concert. You know, back in, around like 2,000 years ago, there was no technology around that. It was basically a music instrument and someone singing. Over time, in the 20th century, there was vinyl records being invented, LPs. That became a new solution for the job to be done, right? Then CDs were invented. And again, the job to be done was still listening to music. It's just the technology got better, and we invented CD-ROMs. You could squeeze in more data in the same CD. It was more compact. It was very portable. Then it became all digitized. No need for a CD-ROM anymore. All of a sudden, we had MP3 players, we had iTunes. The job to be done is still the same, listening to music. It's just the solution got even better. And now you have things like Spotify, and I heard that Sabai has something as well now recently. So you find all these different streaming solutions now. The job to be done is still the same, listening to music. The solutions just got better and better and better and better. So when I'm a customer and I have a job, whether it's coffee or listening to music or needing a mobile app designer or whichever it is, or getting more business for my restaurants, those are all jobs. I'm looking for a solution to hire, right? It's very simple. My mother would understand this. right? Very simple framework for business. So having a fresh breath, that's your job to be done. Okay, well, you need toothpaste and toothbrush. Your other job is you want to feel fresh. Maybe chewing gum could be a better solution. Preventing caries, which is another job to be done. You know, professional tooth cleaning would be a solution. Yeah. Again, those are just different solutions to those jobs to be done. So this is important to remember. The question for you is, in what kind of business are you? Are you a product business or a service business? A product business means that you're selling a thing that solves the job. Right? So, for example, you could say that if you are creating CD-ROMs, or like MP3, like if you're like Spotify, a music streaming service, your product is Spotify. Yeah? If you are a toothpaste company, your product is a toothpaste. But if you have a service business, for example, you build mobile applications. A mobile application business, you're selling a service. The job to be done is that you're helping build a mobile application. You're a service business. You're selling your time. Because you don't have a product that automatically creates the app. You are the product. Yeah? So bear that in mind because that's the most fundamental framework. We're going to start from there. So I put this up front here because it's very bold. Imagine I put you as a question. Can you build a $100 million business? Okay? Now, there's many ways to think about this question. The framework that we're going to use today to introduce you is an animal framework. Yeah? This is the revenue per customer per year. Yeah? It's called ARPA, annual revenue per account. The revenue per customer per year. $1 per year from a customer, $10 per year from a customer, $100 per year from a customer, $1,000 per year per customer, and then up 10,000, 100,000, a million, 10 million, if you're lucky. This is the number of customers you need in order to reach $100 million. So if you have $1 per customer, you need 100 million customers. How do we call those customers? Microbes. Because each customer is tiny, like a microbe, right? $10 per customer, how many customers you need? 10 million. We call those customers flies, because they're still very small. This could be, for example, for Cafe Amazon or like Starbucks, I could be in a $10 range, because I don't often drink coffee. Yeah? Maybe for Amazon, for Starbucks, I'm a $100 customer per year, because maybe I go a few times more to coffee. I don't know. I would need to count. I don't know how much money I spend per year on coffee. It might be about $100 or so. So this would be mice. Mice is $100 per customer per year. $1,000 per customer per year. We need 100,000 customers. Those are rabbits. Okay? Rabbits. So you see the animals get bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah? 10,000. Don't need 10,000 customers. Those are deers. Yeah? Because they're already a bigger animal. $100,000 per customer, elephants. Then bronchosaurus, like a dinosaur, and then whales, the biggest animals. Yeah? So each of those animals represents an entirely different way of thinking about your own business. Knowing what animal you are hunting defines your strategy. Yeah? So you need to first know, are you in the product business? Are you in a service business? And what jobs are you solving for those people? And then secondly, what are those people? What are those animals that you're hunting? Right? Because if you want a big business or a successful business and you define success as having many customers, then you have to define what those customer profiles are on average. Of course, not all customers will be just one or the other, but usually there will be one or two. They will be in a certain range. Yeah, because of the nature of the service you're offering or the product you're offering. So who are you hunting? Flies, mice, rabbits, or deers? Or maybe microbes or elephants. In a Cambodian context, I doubt you will have dinosaurs or whales. But again, you never know, right? We'll get back to this framework later today. This is just like a teaser to kind of help you think about your own business right now. Okay? So this is about the business model. Let's talk about lean startup. Who knows about lean startup? Who has heard this word? Okay, just a few people, not so many. Okay, so lean startup is, so this word, lean startup, is a theory that defines how you can get customers for product businesses. It's been around for about 10 years or so. It's quite useful to read. I'll give you the reference of the book later. So I recommend you look at it if you're interested in this topic. But I'll highlight some of the key concepts here. So what I will describe here is a product business. It doesn't mean that if you're offering a service, you can't apply the same logic. You can offer also for service business the same logic. But I'll use a product as an example. So imagine you have a product, and imagine you have a market. Where this intersects, this is your fit. This is where you can make money. If your product is here and there's no market, guess what? You don't make money. If you see a market but you haven't built a product to address it, you don't make money as well. You have to be in the middle of this. All you will have to do in the first years of your business is figuring out this section. That's all you have to do. Once you figure this section out, you have a business. Because you know there's a product and a market that wants it. That's it, right? And then you keep on, then the only question you will have to find out is how to find this market every time. How to target those same people every day. So it's important to understand, because the mistake that most entrepreneurs do or most businesses do is that they build something that nobody wants. So why build something that nobody wants, right? Because maybe you're stubborn and you think that you have this great vision, but if no one else wants it except you, well, you can't live out of your own. Like, you need to get some money from somewhere, right? So let me give you an example. Let's say I want to invent the best burger in the world. My first question is, do people even want the burger? Right? This was probably the McDonald's question that they had when McDonald's was invented. They first need to know, is there even a burger? So one way of testing whether there's even a need for a burger is by just creating a very simple burger. We call this a minimal viable product. It's a minimum product that we think we can use to determine whether there's a market, to determine whether there's that. So we quickly create something small to try to see if there's a market, right? Why? Because if you directly try to build a perfect burger, it takes time. It takes money, time, and who knows, people don't need that burger. You might find out that people don't need burgers anymore, they want pizzas. And what then? You spend all this time building the perfect burger and nobody wants it. So figuring out how to do something small first and trying it out and then go to something bigger is one of the best ways you can deploy to be smart about your money and about your time. And then what you have to do is you build something small, for example, a mini burger. That's what you've built. Then you test it out. In this test, you measure people's response. For example, this small burger, you give it to someone. You ask, okay, they bite it, nice, nice. And then you try and find out, what do they like about it? Oh, the meat is very tender. The bun is very nice, but maybe it's too soft. It's not hot enough. Oh, I want a sauce, it's too dry. Oh, actually, I think I would want lettuce because it's healthier. Actually, I don't want meat, I want fish. Or actually, I don't want fish, I want vegetarian burgers. You see, this is where you start learning what people want before you build a perfect burger, again, because a perfect burger might be your idea only, yeah? So when you measure this, you find out what people want. And you try to define metrics, ways of measuring this. For example, one way of measuring this is, in a burger example is, do people finish the burger or not? If you don't finish the burger, well, maybe it's not a good burger, yeah? That would be one metric you could apply, yeah? So then you analyze the things that you measure and you learn from it. Based on what you've learned, you've discovered that people like their burger hot. They want it to be 2 patties of meat, not 1. They want some sauce because otherwise it's too dry. They want not a too soft bun, but something a little bit harder. You learn. And then you try building a new one. You build your second burger. And then you try it again. And then you do this again. and again and again until you come up with the perfect burger. Yeah? Now, you can apply this for anything. You can apply this for a mobile app. You can apply this for writing a book. You can apply this for Startup Jungle. We don't claim this is the best event in the world yet. This is only the 3rd edition. We are still building our burger, one step at a time. That's why we had a small issue with the projector. But you know what? It's okay. We all learn, we improve. And who knows, after 10 or 20 sessions, it will get better and better and better. We're moving towards a perfect burger. That's true for anyone, for anything you do. Yeah? And applying this philosophy will save you a lot of money and a lot of time and probably allow you to build a better product, a better burger in the end. Now, a few things you have to be careful with when you build a minimal viable product. A minimal viable product, when you want to build a car, is not putting wheels, because wheels are not useful. The minimal viable product is to first maybe build a skateboard, then a scooter, a small like hand scooter, then a bike, then a motorcycle, then a car. Because all these things solve the same problem, transportation. This doesn't solve any problem. There's no job to be done there. Wheels don't do a job, right? It's like doing the burger example, but just giving the bread. Well, that's not quite a burger experience, yeah? Or just like a leaf of lettuce. That would be the wrong way of approaching the MVP. So you have to build a minimal viable product that actually solves a problem. If the problem you're trying to solve is transportation, then build a transportation tool. Yeah? If the problem is trying to solve is a place where you can shelter for the rain, well, there's cheaper ways of sheltering from the rain than a car. You can invent an umbrella, for example. So you always have to think what problem you're trying to solve. The other thing to bear in mind when you're building a product, or a business for that matter, is that everyone knows Mario Bros? Yeah? Okay, cool. People don't buy the mushroom or the plant. What they buy is a better version of themselves. Mario, small dude, gets some vegetables or fruits or mushrooms or whichever, and then he grows bigger. That's the game, right? Now, ultimately, the goal is to become a better version of yourself. So when you are inventing a product or a service to get a job done, bear in mind that no one just wants to get a job done. They might think they would just want to get the job done, but psychologically, unconsciously, they want to get more than a job done. They want to feel better about themselves, most likely. This is basically the story of Mac, an Apple, right? This laptop is much more expensive than many other laptops. Why did I buy it? I guess because I like it. Sure, the job to be done is I need to check my emails and other things. But you know what? My phone also checks emails, right? So ultimately, people have different needs that they haven't been able to articulate. So there's jobs to be done, the basic jobs, and then there is more psychological jobs. And you have to consider those when you're designing a product or a service. So, 2 key things to test in any business when you're growing your business or when you're selling. The first one is the value that you're giving someone. This is called a value hypothesis. This is testing whether or not the service delivers value. For example, the burger example, the value there is I'm hungry, I want food that fills me up. A burger could be a value. The growth hypothesis is to then figure out how many customers want this thing, how big is the market, and how can I get there? For example, for the burger example is, in Cambodia, how many people in Cambodia want a perfect burger? Maybe they don't want a perfect burger, maybe they don't like burgers. Maybe I can find 5 people, but not 1 million people that want a burger. And 5 people, you can't build a business on 5 people. So this is finding out how many new customers are looking for this product. These are the 2 questions you have to solve. If you have solved those questions, you have a market and a product. That's what you have to solve. For example, Facebook. Facebook, the value hypothesis is we believe that people want a platform to connect with their friends. Okay? That's the value. The growth is we believe that Facebook can become a social network for everyone. You see everyone? 7 billion people. There are about 2 billion now. With growth driven by viral word of mouth. Yeah, that would be an example. Now, how do you find this out? Well, you have to do a lot of tests. You have to constantly go out there and talk to people. You can do this through customer interviews, is one example. Customer interview is about understanding the problems the top problems people are facing. For example, in a burger, the top problem is that they maybe want something very easy, that is cheap, that they can just grab and go and eat and fill them up. This is basically the American dream of the burger. Yeah? And then you have to customize what they want in that. Is it that they want something that fills them up really well? Is something that needs to be hot? Is it something that is cheap? Is something that is fast? What is the most important element of that? And then try to just optimize for that. It needs to be fast. Okay, let's do fast, fast, fast. And then over time, you can improve the burger experience as something that is better and better and better, not just fast. Yeah? And you want people to be able to describe their problem. Don't just assume. Ask them questions. How do they describe it? Not just how you describe it, because you are already convinced when you're doing the solution. You already are a believer, too much a believer. You need to find out whether people believe in it as well. And then you need to find out how they currently solve this problem. And how do they go about this? And how much are they willing to pay for it, which is another important thing. And then finally, if you have a solution, you can find out whether they're willing to tell their friends about your solution. If they don't, then maybe your solution is not quite there yet. Because if your solution is there, they might actually think that it's worth telling their friends. So the search for a product market fit is very long and painful. It can take, depending on the business you're in, from months to several years. Yeah? You have to be smart about it. So imagine this is the uncertainty you're facing. This is the money you're spending on solving that uncertainty. Initially, when you are a very small business and you haven't quite figured out your product market fit, the line I'm going to draw, or the line you see drawn here, is like the progress you're making. Sometimes it feels literally like this, like you're trying, you're trying different burgers and a pizza, then you're trying a coffee, then you don't know yet, then you say, I decide to sell shoes instead, then you go back and you say, no, you know what, we'll do beauty products, then spas, and then back to burger. Yeah? Sometimes it feels like that. Because literally you don't always know what people want. And you have this idea in mind, but you don't exactly know how to articulate it and to try it out. And then as you try this out, over time you'll get more progress. And the uncertainty you face will go down. And that's when you can start investing more and more money. You shouldn't be investing a lot of money when you have a lot of uncertainty, because that's when you might be investing for the wrong reason. I've lost a lot of money on my first business as a result of that. It was more than $100,000 that I lost as a result of this process. Why? Because I was too stubborn and convinced about my own idea. So I didn't listen enough about other people's opinion of the idea. And in the process, you lose money, until you start being smart about it, and then you start making progress. Yeah? The other thing to note is that it's a very psychological experience. And you never quite know when you're going to hit goals. And only you as an entrepreneur or as someone who's leading that project will know. When you are owning that problem on your shoulders, whether you're an employee of a team or the owner of a company, only then will you really understand at what point you should stop. No one else can tell you. The reason is that you're digging, and you don't know where the diamonds are. Maybe you have to dig another 2 months or 5 months until you hit the jackpot. For example, here he stops just before he hits the diamonds. So you always need to dream that you're going for this, even though you're not there yet, right? But then at some point you also have to acknowledge reality and where you're at. And this only you can tell. So I was saying that there's a lot of theories on this. I recommend for anyone who's interested, the presentation will be put online on the Startup Jungle. But you can always look at this. There's a whole methodology called customer development, which is all about, a bit like product development, but about developing your customers. It's a Stanford professor named Steve Blank. He writes a lot about this. So there's different frameworks which are well beyond the time we have for this presentation, so I won't go into them. But there's different ways that make it more measurable in how you can go about this, growing your business. Yeah? Again, more books, several books that are very relevant. Probably the ones that I think are the most interesting is The Lean Startup and The Entrepreneur's Guide to Customer Development. The third one, which is quite interesting, is The Business Model Generation. But each one of them brings different things to the table. So again, interesting books to read, which give you a lot more theory and process and techniques. Yeah? The presentation slide will be online, so you can copy it in. So we move on to the next step, is that you have understood that a customer has a job to be done, and you as a business are offering that person a solution to that job to be done. How do we call that solution? We call that a value proposition. This is the value that you propose to that customer. Yeah, that's called in English, a value proposition. Now, again, many ways to describe this value proposition, but it's important you describe it, because if you are waking up one day thinking about your value proposition, but the next day your value proposition is different, it's normal, it's part of the process, but perhaps it's helpful to document it. So every day you see how your value proposition evolves based on the clarity you get. Yeah? So this is a very simple framework to do that. Imagine the right-hand side, customers. Customers have needs. They have wants and they have fears. The needs is, what are the rational drivers? What is the reason they purchase your solution? That's their need. And sometimes they have hidden needs. For example, the hidden need for a Mac may be that this product makes me feel better, for example, because I think it's a beautiful product. This could be an example of an Apple buyer, a need of an Apple buyer customer. Yeah? Then what are the wants? What are the emotional drivers that are influencing it? For example, a coffee, the emotional driver might be that I'm depressed and a coffee gives me caffeine boost and that makes me feel better about myself. That could be an emotional driver. It's not about the roasted beans and how they taste, it's not about the smell, it's maybe just about the caffeine intake. Right? This could be something that is part of the emotional drivers. The fears, what makes me want to switch to this product? What are the risks of me switching to this product? For example, in the case of a Mac, I do not want to switch to Windows, for example, because I like the Apple operating system. And if I switch, my fear will be that I don't find all the buttons anymore. This is important because if I'm Microsoft and I'm building an operating system, I need to consider those type of customers that are in Mac right now. What would make them switch? You see this with Google, the Google Nexus, the new phone, the Google Pixel phone. They're competing with iPhone. And they had to build an entire story around the fears of customers switching from iPhone to Google Pixel. Because those are the customers they want. Their phone is about the same price as the iPhone, so they know those are the type of customers they want. So that's the customer side. And the question is, what do people currently use? What are the substitutes? What do people currently use as a solution? In the case of a burger, for example, the solution might be a bowl of noodle, or the solution might be a pineapple, or a solution might be pizzas. Yeah? So people have different solutions for that same problem they have, that same need and want and fear. Now your job is to figure out your product, or your service for that matter, is what are the features that that product needs? That's the features. In the case of a burger, it needs to be a certain size, certain heat, certain amount of patty, sauce, there needs to be salad, lettuce, all these things. They're all features. For the benefits, what does your product do? Well, the benefits of burger is that they fill you up. Maybe there's a certain amount of calories, right? And it fills you up quick. What is the experience? What does it feel like? So it makes me feel good. It makes me feel less hungry. You fill this up, yeah? So you start by the features, the benefits, so the how, the why, the what. Same for here. What's the rationale for a customer? What are their emotional needs? What are their hidden needs? What makes them not want to switch to you? You fill this up for yourself, and you get something like this. This is, for example, this is Emerald Hub, basically. I don't know if Chantre is here, but this is basically like an innovation warehouse or like a co-working space. The needs are that people want productivity, they want a place to sit. They maybe want to have access to finance, to funding. They want to have access to advice. They want also social environment. They want maybe prestige. They want to be part of something that looks prestigious. They want to grow their team. Their fears are their fixed cost and the scalability of their team. Their current substitute is that they work from a coffee shop and that they have a rented office. Now comes Emerald Hub. Yeah? Emerald Hub says, hold on guys, we have a quiet space. We have a very nice environment with a good community. We even have access to investors that can invest in your products. The benefits are you can grow bigger, you can learn faster, you can have a productive environment. And the experience we want to create is we want to create a serious business the Harvard of accelerators, whatever you want to call it, right? That's up to you to figure those things out. So this is an example of how you can fill this template out. So once you've done this, you've identified this, the customer needs, and this, then what your MVP is that you're really testing this. You're really trying to test your product or service. That's your MVP. Because remember, this thing is supposed not to change. When you're listening to music now or 2,000 years ago, you're listening to music, that's a job to be done. That is probably not changing. The substitutes might change a little bit, but the rest of the jobs will probably not change much. But this changes all the time. The solutions change all the time. Yeah? Are you with me? Am I too fast? Okay. Cool. So we spoke about business models. We spoke about lean startup. Let's talk a little bit about growth. So once you have figured out what business you're in, and you have figured out what your product market fit is, so what market you're in, then you need to actually get customers. You need to grow. Now, when you look at a graph, let's say in your mathematics class in school, you probably learned that it's just a curve, right? A line. In reality, in business, it's never a line. It's lots of little things that add up to forming this line. Lots of little things. It could be 500 little data points, it could be 20, it could be 10. But usually for a business, you need to do lots of small things right to grow. So it's rarely just one thing. What is growth? It means you have products and users. Then you can grow. Again, you can change product to service if you like, if you're like in a service business. Now, it's important to note that some people think of products like Facebook or Salesforce, if you know Salesforce, or Microsoft or Apple for that matter, that you always see their product. That's why you always think that all the money they spend is on building a product. The reality is that most companies that are successful spend twice as much money on sales and marketing on a product. Even product businesses. This is an analysis of the top 36 software businesses in the world. And you see, this is how many years after they've been founded. So from 0 years to 25 years of founding. And this is the amount of revenue spent on the team. Whether it's on sales and marketing is the blue line, red line is the product. What you see is that at any given moment, those companies, the best companies in the world, software companies in the world, always spend on average 2 times more on their sales than on their products, on average. Even at the beginning, you would argue in the beginning, no, maybe they've spent all their money on a product. No, even in the beginning, even the first year. So you can think when you're an engineer, you usually have the bias to think that you can build the best company by just focusing on a product. It's almost always wrong, that bias. Very rarely that's true. You almost always need sales and marketing to achieve success. Yeah? And usually, that's twice as high. So there's many ways to grow a company. I will describe 3 main ways. The first way is paid way. It's when you spend money. You buy users for less money than you earn from them. So if I buy a user for $1 to sign up to my products, let's say my burger place, $1 of advertisement, and I get someone to buy a burger of $5, and I make $2, $3 on a burger. Guess what? It's worth it. Because I spent $1 to get him, but maybe I made $2 or $3 profits. I make money. Let's spend more dollars on getting that customer. This is the paid way. Yeah? The viral way is when for every user, they bring more users. This is Facebook, or WhatsApp, or Telegram, or Line. For every user, they maybe bring another user. That's viral. It spreads virally, verbally. The third way is sticky. Users never leave. It's like Hotel California. Users never leave. Once you check in, you never check out. You like the product so much, you stay. Let's say Mac. They're pretty good at sticky. Very few Mac users will afterwards leave. So we go in each one of those. Paid users. This model is proven. A lot of companies use it, but you need a lot of money. Be mindful of this, especially in Cambodian context. Very few companies in Cambodia have the money to play this strategy because it costs a lot of money to reach people. And I say a lot of money, it depends on what business you're in. For a restaurant, it could be a few $100,000, a few 10,000 depending on the size. For a tech company, it could be 100,000 or a million. For a very big media company, it could be millions or tens of millions, depending on what you're trying to do. Yeah. You can get salespeople you can pay salespeople. You can create physical stores. You can search and do advertisements. This, for instance, on Facebook and LinkedIn and Google. This would be search or display ads. You can do PR and marketing, press and marketing. Those will all be relevant strategies to get customers. Yeah? All of those things will cost you money. Viral growth is a product strategy, almost always. It is slow, but it's potentially huge if you get it right. Facebook, for example, is a product. They started with Harvard, then they went to another university, I think Yale, and then they went from there to all the top universities of US, and then from then they went to beyond universities. And they got viral over time. It took them some time, and they grew virally. If you don't have a product, viral growth is very hard, because the way it usually works is that you create this loop where a new user signs up, a percentage of those users invite their friends, a percentage of the friends that were invited will sign up, and these will create new users. And then over and over and over again. Yeah? If the coefficient of people that are invited is more than 1, then for every person that signs up, more than 1 person will sign up in addition to that. That's where you have a huge business. That's what Facebook had. For every user they sign up, they knew they would get more than 1 of their friends to sign up as well. That's how they got to 2 billion users. This is very relevant if you have a good product, especially when your product is free or cheap. Yeah? Because by creating viral, you can grow to a certain scale without spending too much money. For that, you need to have very good design and very good tech in your founding team. You also need to prioritize your growth over everything, even revenue. The point is you need to grow big. Revenue can come later. Money can come later. Virality needs to be built into your product. You need to constantly measure your metrics, your numbers, constantly measure them, so to know where people drop out, how much percentage of people refer their friends, how those friends sign up, why they don't sign up. You have to measure every single step in the process. And then word of mouth. Are you familiar with what word of mouth is? Yeah. So word of mouth is not a strategy, let's be clear. It's a bonus. There's no way of creating word of mouth. Meaning, yeah, you can be like Donald Trump and create outrageous things and you will create word of mouth. But that's not really a strategy you can channel towards something. Virality is a technique. It's not just luck. It's not just like I'm rolling a dice. No, there's a whole science behind creating something viral. So you have to measure things and build things towards virality. It's not just a thing that happens by coincidence. It means that your product has to be viral. For example, Facebook was by nature viral because Facebook was about people connecting with their friends. The more friends were on their platform, the more other friends would come. The more friends would share pictures, the more other friends would come. The more friends were sharing updates, the more friends would come. This is about building into your product. For example, if you are a burger place, to continue with my example of burgers, there's nothing viral about it. Meaning, word of mouth might come. If I have the best burger in Phnom Penh, I can create a press release and marketing that will make my place very famous through word of mouth. But that is basically a paid strategy. I pay for marketing, and then people start talking, have you heard of this new burger place? A great burger place, let's go. That creates word of mouth. But you can create a nice business with that. But there will be limits to how big this can become. The burger itself will not be viral. The burger could become viral if, for example, in order to bite it, I first have to share it with my friends, which obviously won't exist. Let's say you put the burger in a box, And the only way to open the box is that you prove that you've shared the picture of the burger on Instagram. That could be an example of how to make a burger viral. Because then in order to open the box, I have to prove with the Instagram picture, and only then does the box open. Yeah? That would be an example of number 3, which for a burger would be unlikely. But there are people that have figured out virality for things that you would not expect. Yes, you're right. Yes. This said, it's like with anything in business, you can be creative. And if you're creative, maybe you can find a way of making something that is not quite what it seems into something else. But you're right that most businesses have a natural tendency, and we're going to get back to this message. It depends on whether you're hunting flies, microbes, rabbits, and we'll get there. So you're right, there is a predisposition for any business. Sticky growth, I made that example of Hotel California. Once a customer shows up, they never leave, right? Like the song. So this is a very product and channel centric. Channel is about customer channel. For example, in the case of Facebook was like university students was their initial channel. Focus is all on retaining the existing customers. The thinking is every customer you have, they never leave, and then every new customer you get, great, they will stay for life, so to speak. It can be cheap and fast to grow this business. Most of the businesses are probably sticky businesses. For most businesses, to your point, for most businesses, sticky is probably the best strategy. Because for most businesses, it is hard to get a customer, and once you have a customer, you better hold on to that customer. That's usually the best strategy, especially when you don't know how to make paid and viral work. So in this kind of business, retention is everything. Keeping your customers, everything. Current customers are more important than new ones. Of course, new ones are important as well, but current are really important. You can get traffic and subscribers, like people coming to you. There's different ways of doing this. For example, you can give free gifts or value, over-deliver value as well. So for example, in burger, if the burger is priced at $5, make it a burger that is worth $7, but give them only at $5. People will be like, wow, this burger is so amazing, it's only $5. That means over-delivering. That's the best way of having existing customers come back, right? Very simple example. You can again apply this for any business, right? Not just a burger business. Convert subscribers to paying customers is the next thing, especially if you have a free business. How do you get people that are just interested or checking you out to then start paying you for it? That's usually the difference between a small business and a big business. And then retain them. And as soon as you have a customer, upsell them. For example, Mac did that very well. They got me as a customer. I initially bought an iPhone. I like my iPhone. Then I bought a Mac. I like my Mac. Then I start buying Apple TV. I like Apple TV. Then I start buying all the accessories of Apple. I like my accessories. You see, like they basically sold me more and more and more, right? So, and at some point, I'm a sticky customer. I'm not going to switch easily, even though I think their products are overpriced. So, key metric, what are you measuring? Lifetime value of a customer. That's one of the key things you have to measure. You have to find out how much revenue do you get from a customer in 12 months. Of course, you can measure how much revenue you get a customer in 2 years or 3 years. But you know what? A lot of things can happen in 2 or 3 years. So don't assume your financial model based on 2 or 3 years. Assume it on 1 year. Who knows, in 2 or 3 years, the world is destroyed and we all need to move to Mars, right? The point is, measure for what you can more or less predict. 1 year is usually a good time frame. If you can't make money in 1 year, you probably have a wrong plan. Customer acquisition costs. You measure the cost of that customer over 12 months. Same thing. 1 year. How much does it cost me to get that customer for my burger? $1 to get him. Okay. He likes the burger. He goes away. And then I'm trying to say, hey, I want him to come back next week. Okay, I'm going to spend $0.50 for an SMS through Smart as an SMS campaign. Okay, he comes back. Great. I already spent $1.50 on that customer. Then maybe 2 months later, I'm going to do again an SMS. 10 cents, $1.6 on a customer now, right? Etc. Count all the cents and dollars you spend on a customer on a yearly basis. That's your cost of acquisition. And then if you have those two numbers, you need to make sure the ratio is at least 3x. If your long-term value, your value of a customer over 1 year is 3 times the value of a customer, of the cost of that customer 1 year, you have a business. Why? Because 1x is used to just pay for the cost of the marketing and sales. You have 2x left. 1x is used to get the next batch of customers, and then 1x is profit to pay yourself a salary. That's the minimum, right? Or to pay your team. That's 3x. If you can get to 4x, 5x, 10x, 20x, oh, you have a good business. Very good business. Mac has a very good business. It's not 3x what they do. On me, they would make a lot more than 3x, I think. So figure out what is that X factor for you, right? And remember, the payback time on a customer has to be 12 months. Because then, if your plan is on 12 months and the customer says for 2 years, you know what? Every extra dollar they stay with you is just bonus. Extra money. So, getting your first-time customers through marketing and sales. We already spoke about a lot of different concepts. Where do you find those customers? I mean, there's many ways to look at this problem again, but one way to look at this is that on any given population, there is a curve of people that are early adopters and people are late. Early adopters are people that are always the first to try a new product or service. Yeah? Those are statistically, there's research on this, about 15% of the population, 16% of the population. Then there's people that are like a majority, and there's people that will never, maybe at the very end, when everyone has a phone already, like a smartphone, they will then decide to buy a smartphone. My brother is like that, yeah? He doesn't care about this until he has no other choice because the entire world has moved to it, he will buy it as well, yeah? So you need to target not those people, you have to target those people. Do you remember Google Glass? Google released like glasses. Google Glass was for early adopters because the product was not even that good. But still there were people willing to pay $1,000 to get their Google Glass. Why? Because they are geeks, they like to try it out. They're early adopters. In your industry, you will have early adopters. Find them. And then with those early adopters, ask them the right questions. What are the characteristics? They've been actively looking for a way to implement a solution. They already put together some kind of solution. They have or can obtain a budget for your solution. And you know where to find them. That's important. If you can't find them, then there's no point. You need to know where to find them. Yeah? And then get out of the building. For example, the burger example. I might assume that currently people like burgers are also people like pizzas. Why not set up a small little van with like a mobile van with burgers next to a pizza place? And every time someone leaves the pizza place, I grab them and says, hey, would you like to try my burger for free? And people are like, cool, okay, free burger, I'll try it. And then say, okay, why don't you try my burger for $1 and for $2 and then for $3 and then $4 until the pizza owner kicks you out, yeah? And then you go for the Starbucks owner and then you do this for a while, yeah? But so be creative about it. The key is to get out of the building, otherwise it will never happen. If you just do it from online, there's a big difference between talking to someone in person and talking to someone over chat. Over chat, people can pretend whatever. If you meet them in person, it's hard to lie. People have, we have a lot of non-verbal communication that comes out when you're in a chat. Okay, I'm not going to go over this. There's a lot more content here, but there's a lot of different channels to find your early adopters in. This will be in a presentation. What I want to spend a bit of time on is this framework. So we're almost at the end of the presentation. If you remember, this is the amount of revenue per customer, this is the amount of customers you need if you want to build a $100 million business. We'll go over a few profiles, and bear in mind for you, what kind of customers do you need? Let's start with the microbes and the flies. There's a chameleon eating, I think in this case, a butterfly, but it could be as well a fly. So when you're in the business of hunting microbes or flies, microbes $1 annual revenue, flies $10 annual revenue, your strategies are that you need to get a lot of users, as in a lot of users, yeah? As many active, in case you have a product, as many active users to download and subscribe for your app, as many as you can, right? How? Well, ideally you make your product viral or social. That's the case of Instagram, Snap, Telegram, right? Or strategy 2 is you create a lot of user-generated content. So people start generating content. Because when they start generating content, people want to share that with their friends and they want their friends to tell you. Right? So user-generated content, a good example of that is Yelp. Yelp creates a lot of user-generated content. It's reviews of restaurants and stuff like that. Yeah? Now, how do you make money if you have so many users? Ideally, you make money on advertisements or on the content of the data. An example of this would be WhatsApp. WhatsApp right now, they are free to use. I think I've read studies somewhere, they make about $0.1 per user, which is not that much. But they have a bit more than 1 billion users, so it'd still be $100 million a year, not bad. And I think they sell part of their data, but I'm not 100% sure how they make their money right now. But of course, they're part of Facebook, so they just need to feed data to Facebook, and Facebook makes money through advertising eventually. Okay, other profile. You're hunting for mice or you're hunting for rabbits. Mice are customers that give you $100 per year. Rabbits are customers that give you $1,000 per year. If you're hunting for mice and you want to build a $100 million business, guess what? You will need about 1 million users that are paying you. Yeah? So you need a lot of users. But probably for every paying users, you need 10 non-paying users. So probably you need 10 million users. It's already a lot, right? Because there's a conversion. The major way of achieving that again is virality. Yeah? It's some kind of way of creating this social sharing mechanism or some kind of powered by mechanism. A good example is Evernote and MailChimp. Do you guys know Evernote? The notes business? MailChimp, do you know as well? So those are good examples of businesses that have achieved exactly this amount. So they get about $100 per user, per paying user a year. And they're quite big business. They're now a $100 million plus business, actually I think bigger. And so they have achieved that exact scale. E-commerce maybe, but with e-commerce the problem is that you usually don't get that kind of scale unless you really have a lot of money like Amazon. And you need a lot of funding to get to all those users. You need a lot of financing because it might cost you $10 per customer or $100 per customer. Yeah, it's very expensive e-commerce. Rabbits, a little bit different. Rabbits are probably one of the most hardest problems to solve. The irony is that most of the technology and software business are in that category internationally. So this is a very hard one to solve. Mice are also quite hard to solve. So a lot of people don't succeed in solving it. For a rabbit business, you need like about $100 a month from a customer or $1,000 a year, give or take. In a Cambodian context, it's quite hard for a software business. So you need to do an international business or get international customers on board if you are based in Cambodia. For a service business, you can. You should actually, for a service business, I hope you have more than $1,000 per year on a customer. Because otherwise you are in a very cheap business and you might not be able to make money. So for $1,000 per year, you need about 100,000 paying users, which might mean about 500,000 or a few million non-paying users. Usually you have a bit of virality and usually you have a lot of paid marketing. But besides that, what you have is that you have something called inbound marketing. Inbound marketing is basically a form of paid growth. It's a way of showing the world, come to me, I'm an expert. Or come to me, I'm solving all your problems. And then people come to you. This is usually a very good strategy, and it takes you time to build your expertise. You have to build your brand, your reputation. You have to kind of put yourself out there, yeah, as a company or as a product. The other way there, linked to inbound marketing, is creating an OEM partner. It's basically a partner that will help you distribute your solution. And they get a commission. They get, for instance, 10% for everything they give to you. That usually is a strategy that could work as well, but it's usually harder than an inbound strategy. Each of those strategies we can do a whole workshop on. Yeah. So I'm just giving you high-level stuff. Okay, next archetype, hunting deer or hunting elephants. And again, I'm not suggesting actually hunting them, yeah? And I know I gave a presentation on like burgers and stuff, but I'm mostly a vegetarian, so you know, this is purely hypothetical, yeah? So when you're hunting deer, you're hunting customers in a $10,000 range or above. Elephants, $100,000 range. Yeah. For instance, my company Slash, we are in the elephant business mostly right now. Yeah. So we are not interested in $1,000 because that doesn't help us. So a deer would be $10,000 per customer. That's already a bit more. This is similar to hunting rabbits, but maybe a little bit easier. The reason it's easier is because the customers give you already 10,000 bucks. With 10,000 bucks, you should be able to hire a sales team. Well, I don't cover the cost of my sales guy, right? On a $10,000, I could cover potentially the cost of my sales guy or of a sales team. But specifically, it probably still doesn't make sense to have a team running in the field and knocking on so many doors. It's better to have a team that is inside the office, a telephone call that creates phone calls, right? So an inside sales team, it's called. They literally make phone calls to all the different customers. That is viable for a $10,000 business because you can do an inside sales team quite cheaply. Because a person sitting in the office can do probably 5 or 10 calls an hour, 8 hours a day, 40 calls to customers. Out of that, maybe out of 40 customers, 5% will convert. So let's say that's 2-3 customers a day, 20 days a month, that's 40 customers, okay? That's a business. So, because then you have an inside sales team that can be processed and can make a lot of phone calls. So you can also pay a commission to channels, that would be another option. The best deer hunters are usually hunters that start with rabbits. They're usually first going here at the rabbit level, $1,000, and then they realize, hey, I got an oversized rabbit of 5,000 bucks. That's nice. Maybe that oversized rabbit starts hopping like a deer. Oh, it's a deer, look at that, 10,000 bucks. That's a deer hunter. So you can usually move up from being a rabbit hunter to a deer hunter. Yeah, that's usually a viable strategy because to know what you need to get for a deer, you need to know what you need to get for rabbits. So it helps to already understand how to hunt a rabbit. Yeah. Elephants are a bit harder, especially in a Cambodian context. There's in Cambodia not so many elephants. Again, purely metaphorically, don't get me wrong. Okay? So elephants are usually larger companies that can spend $100,000 or more on a customer. Yeah? You only need, in the case of the $100 million example, you only need 1,000 customers. It's not that much, right? To get to a $100 million business. Kind of like, okay, maybe, right? So there's 2 steps. Sounds simple, but it's very hard to do. The first step is you need to have a really, really good solution to a really difficult problem that they cannot solve. Remember product market fit? You put those 2 together. If you have a product market fit for an enterprise level problem and more than one enterprise has this problem, you have a big business. To get there, you might need several years to figure out what that product market fit is. The second step is, once you have that problem, is you have to build a kick-ass sales team. Remember, you get a lot of money per customer. It's worth having the best sales guy hunter those customers because you have the money for it. And then you build an enterprise field sales team. They literally go from door to door on corporates. They fly on the airplane. They're like the Phnom Penh, Siem Reap, Ho Chi Minh, Bangkok, Singapore, Dubai, London. That's a field sales team for elephants, right? And you get the best customers and the best salespeople. But again, this requires still a lot of money, millions of dollars probably, in order to get a lot more customers. So I'll just say this for completion. Whale, hunting whales. Again, I love whales. I'm a scuba diver, so I'm not actually hunting whales. I'm not suggesting you should. But purely hypothetically, in the metaphorically example I'm giving here, what happens when you're hunting dinosaurs, brontosaurus, or whales? Actually, these numbers are wrong. This is 1 million, is 10 million. So these are wrong. If you're hunting a dinosaur, $1 million, there's a few companies that did this. Viva and Workday are a good example of that. They get customers that are willing to pay more than $1 million every year. Viva is a healthcare software solution. Workday is a human resource software solution. To do that, you probably are already in a business of doing that. What I mean is, if you can do this, it means that you have a strong background in this area. For example, if you're building an HR solution, you probably are an expert in human resources already. And then you have a good sales guy, and you can maybe build this. But otherwise, it's usually easier to start with smaller animals. For whales, it's even worse. It's almost impossible. Very few customers can spend $10 million on you. The best example of this is Palantir. It's worth studying if you're interested in this topic. Palantir provides data services to the governments of the world, CIA, FBI, London Police Force. Their customers are between $10 million to $100 million per contract. And they're a software solution. The guy who invented it, Peter Thiel, was also the guy who invented PayPal, to give you an idea. So he has a certain reputation. But if you have a unique solution, a reputation, a market, and you're building something very special, and you sell to the top clients of the world, you can get there. So, okay, most common Cambodian hunting strategies. Again, I could give a whole talk just on this probably. So this is an introductory talk. I think you will know for yourself, most likely in Cambodia, you're hunting flies or mice as a consumer business. I mean, $1 to $10. So $1 to $100, basically in that range. That would be consumer businesses usually. If you are about $100 for a consumer, you have a pretty good consumer business in Cambodia. So you could, for example, be like fashion clothing that is very premium, or it could be like styling or branding, those type of things, or real estate is sort of much higher up as well. For most corporate businesses here, you would be in a rabbits or deer business. So you would be sort of at the $1,000 to $10,000 to $100,000 range. That's when you sell to corporates, yeah? And that would be anything from mobile app development software to designing an office, like interior design, to selling laptops, to selling cars. Cars actually are rabbits on the consumer side. So you can have like different strategies, but you have to be aware of what you're selling. My big question to you is why limit Cambodia is a small market? I would say that's the biggest question I would have for you. Why limit yourself to Cambodia? Right? But that's, again, like I said, that's probably for another talk. There's a lot to be said there. So just to summarize, and we are more or less at the end of part 1 of the talk. Yep. First step, build a product where there's a market and find out what our interface is, the product market fits. Second step, which is kind of related to this, is who do you hunt? What kind of animal are you hunting? Are you in a service business and a product business? Are you targeting corporates or consumers? What's the size of the prize that you're selling? This will determine a lot of your growth, and then go to your growth engine. Paid, viral, sticky, or a combination of the three. Doesn't have to be just one, combination of the three, usually will do, right? And each of those, if you follow this, you will probably get more clarity on, for your own business, where you need to kind of go. Okay? Great, so what we're gonna do, it's now 7:25. What we're gonna do is that we're gonna take a quick break. Yeah, a quick break of like 5-10 minutes. There's actually, as long as you want, there's some food outside and drinks. For the ones who want, after the break, you can come. You can come anytime to. Perhaps Jibril, can you come up? Yes. So we have, we'll have office hours where we will have 2 mentors that will basically be available for your questions. So please welcome Jibril. So Jibril is a business owner, and he has some experience in growing his business as well. And so you can basically approach us anytime during the break or after your break to talk about your business, your problems, your challenges, and we can maybe give you some advice or some tips. And yeah, and then we take it from there. We have to leave the space at 8, so in about half an hour or so. You're very welcome to stay around, have some food, have some drinks, and chat with each other. And there's no formal session anymore, so there's no need to kind of come back. Jibril and I will just stay here if you want to approach us. Okay? Thank you very much. Hope it was useful.